Hey everyone, Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com. On this video, I'll be talking about my 5 favorite exercises for building a stronger back. First off, I'm going to blanket statement there. I'm obviously not a doctor, nor do I pretend to play one, so any and all of these recommendations shouldn't be taken unless you consult a proper medical professional. So we want to ask ourselves, why would we want a strong back in the first place? You can't see it, you can't really touch it. I mean, if you're unflexible like me, I can't really touch my back. The reason you want to build a strong back is it's literally going to be supporting a lot of the lifts you do in the gym. It's a great big structure and makes up half of the upper body, so it's something you really should pay attention to, especially if you're trying to get a healthier and stronger, well-rounded body. Other than that, it does serve a great purpose out in everyday life. Literally every time you want to pick something up, you're going to be using your back, and if you want to carry anything, like after a big old grocery day, you're going to be using that back in order to pick stuff up out of the car and bring it into the house. So let's start off with exercise number 1, which is the deadlift. There's not much I can say about the deadlift that hasn't already been said, other than you should check out my deadlift principles video, where I go over the principles that I believe make up a good deadlift. But with that being said, I like to always include a deadlift variant of some sort in my own training. I don't think that there is the one true style of deadlift that is superior to all the other types of deadlifts. I think they all, much like a toolkit, every tool plays a different purpose depending on what your intended outcome and intended goals are. So use the different variants and the different accessory movements of the deadlift throughout your workouts and training sessions in order to drive those different adaptations, whether that be conventional, sumo, Romanian, Jefferson, block pulls, deficit deadlift, pause deadlifts. These are all great variants that you should all include and will all help to build up that back musculature that's going to support that structure. It's probably one of the most basic of all exercises, and I think the deadlift should make up one of the core movements for your program because it's going to train pretty much any muscle that is attached to the back of your body, from the calves to the hamstrings to the posterior chain, the spinal erectors and the upper back. All of it has to be tensed and braced and working correctly in order to pick up that heavy weight off the ground successfully and with some sort of technique. I personally like to keep the reps under 10. I don't really like to do high rep deadlifts just because I don't think they're that efficient and effective when compared with other movements. I would also suggest going as heavy as you can while still maintaining as good of a technique as possible. All the things I'll go over in that deadlift principles video. The second set of exercises is the pull-up / chin-up. I mentioned both of them because I think, just like all the deadlift variants, all of the pull-up chin-up variants should still be included in your training. I like the pull-up chin-up. I'll just start calling them pull-ups. I like the pull-ups just because they do help mitigate strength and weight gain. So if you're getting too large on a bulk and you're not able to perform any pull-ups, maybe it's time to either bring up that strength or lose some weight. It's a good kind of auto-regulation and a good metric indicator to tell if your strength is keeping up with your weight gain. And for my own training, I like to include at least 2 different variants per month. I like to rotate them in and out. So maybe I'll do a neutral grip pull-up paired with a chin-up, a regular chin-up, or I'll do an alternating grip pull-up with a wide grip over the hand pull-ups. I think it's a great way to attack all the different angles of the back, and obviously I don't think you need to be doing every single variant every single week. You should definitely set blocks of training, and that's how you can focus on developing certain strengths, and then the next time around you'll be working on something else. And you do this over the course of the year, you're going to be working out each different type of pull-up variant and not really missing out on any variation there. The other thing I like to do is keep one strictly body weight and try and do as many reps as possible, and then the other variant I would like to add weight and keep the reps the same, so keep the reps within that like 6 to 10 rep range, and then just like any other deadlift, try and load the lift as much as possible, keeping within that rep range. That way, again, you're working on both muscular endurance of the back and then muscular strength of the back. Two aspects that, yes, very similar, but need to be trained in their own manners. Now I bring you to exercise 3, which is the humble barbell row. I think these are a great exercise. I like pairing them with the bench press because we're in that horizontal plane. The pull-ups and chin-ups address the vertical plane. It's good to get in back work that's working in both the horizontal and vertical plane. If you do want to combine them into a superset, I like to stick in the similar plane. So overhead press pairs well with the chin-up, and then the bench press will pair well with the barbell row. And again, you'll notice the theme here: no barbell row is superior to another type of barbell row. I like to do both the floating barbell row, where your back's at a 45-degree angle, and you're just going from wherever your arms hang, so probably like knee height, up to belly. And then the pendlay row is a great variant where you have definitely a more horizontal back angle, but you're touching the floor on each rep and then up to the stomach on each rep. The one thing you'll notice in common is that at the top of the barbell row, no matter what variant you do, you definitely want to touch that torso, and that's a good way to remember to engage the back properly by squeezing those shoulder blades together. And imagine you're trying to squeeze a pencil in between your shoulder blades at the end of each rep. You really want to get that full range of motion in order to activate as much muscle mass as possible, and it really help keep those shoulders healthy by training that scapula to move back and forth. Fourth movement will be some dumbbell rows. These are a great unilateral movement. This way you're able to really isolate each side and make sure that no huge strength imbalances are going to occur. We're all going to be imbalanced to some point or another. If you're right-handed like I am, your right side is inevitably going to be stronger than your left side, just because you're going to do more tasks with that on your right hand side. There's nothing you can really do to stop that. You can't really be 50-50 strength on each side. You're going to lean towards whichever dominant side you are, and that's fine. But if you notice that you can only dumbbell row, say 20 pounds with this hand, but 50 pounds with this hand, then now you're going to have to start looking at bringing up that left hand side, that off hand side, so that you can make that at least like 40 pounds and 50 pounds. That way we're in the similar ballpark of weights. If there's a huge disparity, then you're going to know there's something wrong. If the weight difference isn't that much, then it's not really something to be too concerned about. So I like to keep the weights kind of middle, but the reps slightly higher. So I like to target the 10 plus range, 10 to 15 rep range for the dumbbell rows, just because we are playing with that unilateral side. Loading it too heavy, you're going to have a big tendency to let some of that form slip away and start to do a bit more body English than you would like to see. This brings me to my fifth and final exercise that I like to build the back, and it's probably not the typical back exercise that comes to mind, and that is the farmer carry or the farmer walk. I've created a quick video reviewing the cheap Titan farmer carries, which are a great option for those of you on a budget. I'll put a link somewhere above so you can check out the first initial impressions, as well as some tips and tricks as to how I like to do the farmer walk. I like to think of them as a walking deadlift. How great the deadlift is, now we're just adding some movement to that, and that's why I think makes this a great back exercise that's also a really, really functional movement. I talked about carrying groceries earlier. I mean, what gets more mimicking to carrying groceries is carrying two heavy things in each hand. It's going to help build that back up under movement. So now you're not in a static environment by just picking a weight up and holding it there, or like just moving with a weight with just everything else being solid. Now we're having to make sure the back, the core, all of that in the upper torso effectively stays braced and tense while we're trying to move the legs, and we're trying to breathe as well, because you're not obviously holding your breath for 25 yards. You're going to be breathing, it's going to be hurting, you're working your grip. Everything about it is very tough and very brutal, but that's what makes it a really fun exercise, because it does work those muscles in a way that isn't typical in the gym. Now, if you don't have access to farmer carry handles. You can use your imagination. Use 2 barbells, 2 heavy dumbbells, 2 kettlebells. You can even use plates. Anything that you can use in the gym, anything you can use around the house even, that you can just hold in each hand and walk with it. That's really what you want to look at. There's 3 kind of types of farmer carries that I like to do. One is focusing on speed, so how fast can I move? The other one is how far can I go? So the weight isn't really the issue there. It's more how go that for distance. And then finally is the weight. So we're not really concerned about how fast that is or how far we go. It's how heavy we can go. And when we play around with those 3 features of the farmer carry, we're going to really get a really strong farmer carry after a couple of months of training, because I like to alternate them, obviously month after month, or training block after training block. So I'm not trying to do speed, distance, and weight all in one day. I'm going to focus on speed this month, then maybe weight next month, and then distance for the next month. That we're able to spread out the training load over the course of 3 months and really dive in and get really good returns on each of those single aspects. So that wraps up my 5 favorite back exercises. Hopefully you found something useful out of that. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely subscribe, where I'm going to be doing some more exercise guides, and I'll break down each of these 5 movements, put a bit more technical analysis into it, hopefully help you figure out where to plug them into your own training program, how you can go about including them in training, what type of reps, sets, and loading you should do for each of them, and common mistakes that I see. It's been Selwyn from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.